Oh,
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I'm always the last to know. It's ridiculous, but it is Monday, so maybe StreamYard is on vacation. I don't know. But
Yeah,
anyway,
the Thursday.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players. We know it's not the, usual time and place, but this is not a usual time or place kind of show here.
No, it is not. This is the coolest show of the year.
For the fourth year running, sitting preferably.
Yeah.
The fourth year we're doing this, we call it the CRM Magazine Reveal Show, Award Reveal Show. Now, this one is even more, I think, interesting because this marks the 25th year that CRM Magazine has done these kinds of awards. And on top of that, this is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we'll ask them in a second. I think this is the 30th year of the magazine being out there. So lots of things lining up.
Stars. And we're going to reveal the stars today. Whoa, what a segue.
Yeah, and speaking of stars, quick stars, shout out to Shashi Bellamkonda.
The red carpet. Yeah, all right, Shashi.
Yeah, did you get your picture? Look who this is, fellow Rams fan, Larry Nelson
God's
is here.
sake.
Right. And you know what? I forgot to change my little third.
Yeah.
I got to change that at some point.
Right away.
Look at this. Nitin is in the house. All right. Good to see you, Nitin.
Swag bag.
Sarita is like somewhere on parts unknown. I guess she's got some good wireless Wi-Fi going because she's traveling out in the West Desert style or something. So glad to see her.
In Mojave.
Yes, sir. Way to go, Rams. All right. We better stop this because
that
will talk about the Rams
forever.
But we are so excited to be doing this for the fourth year in a row. And of course, we couldn't do it without the publisher of CRM Magazine, Mr. Bob Fernekees. Hey, Bob.
Hey, guys.
How are you? Right.
How are you? Thanks
Welcome, sir.
And of course, we couldn't do it without the other kind of double dynamic duo of this organization.
Well,
another
editor in chief, right?
Yeah, editor in chief, and also Len Klie, not Len Klie, like I used to call him. Hey, Len.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good to see you. So before we jump full bore into all this, 25th anniversary of the awards. What does that just mean to each of you before we jump into the actual awards? 25 years of doing this.
We're getting old.
All right. Besides the old factor, anything else?
Well, this is particularly special because it is the 25th anniversary that we're doing this. We started doing it in 2001. We've made a bunch of changes over the years, different categories, added, taken away as things develop, as industry trends come and go, as new technologies emerge and replace other ones. So we've had a few changes over the years. Structurally, we've changed a few things in terms of how we work things and that kind of stuff. But the one thing that's remained throughout is, unlike a lot of there's so many award shows out there now, and so many of them are pay-to-play type of things where companies are submitting, thousands of dollars to be considered. There's no pay-to-play for us. It's strictly analyst-driven. We rely on you guys, Paul, Brent, and I think we'll show them in a couple of minutes who the other analysts were. But we rely on these guys for telling us who the winners are and who they think the best ones are. So it's not pay-to-play. It's not based on who advertises with us, who doesn't, or any of that kind of stuff. It's strictly industry driven. Here's what the industry analysts have observed, and kept it that way. That's not changed in all 25 years. A lot of other things might have, but that's been the constant.
I thought I put the actual judges up there while you're talking about them too, but hey,
Okay.
Bob, go ahead.
One of the things that you guys have participated in and helped drive and lead is this cadre of analysts and really insiders that have been in the industry through so many huge changes, and that's what we've been reporting on these 25 years, and some of the things we were talking about before was, the dominance that BlackBerry once had. And we reported, I think in 2008 that, Apple's new entry into the market may have some useful, use for the enterprise and just things like that. But, we've been, especially this year with AI, it's been fantastic and so many huge disruptive changes. And that's really what the list is. It's a compendium of people who are analysts in the market that get asked all the time, hey, who would you recommend? And we basically take that information and put it into a package that people can refer to. So.
By the way, I want to just get this in there. We need to know who LinkedIn user here who is here for the Paul Hugs.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering too, because I can't hug a LinkedIn user in general. And
Alan is saying, Ian, I missed your column in CRM Magazine. I think this is Ian who answered Alan, who said, I've been on the page for the last 8 months. So, Alan, you got a lot of back reading to do, it sounds like.
That's right. One thing that makes this list of analysts really interesting too is you have independents, you have the very large institutional analyst firms, and you have the mid-size and the boutique firms. I mean, you've got a representation of every kind of class of analyst, so to speak, based on the size of their company there, which is really, really something else. That's a good mix.
All right. So, go ahead, Len.
Nope, I was just going to say the exact same thing. So Paul beat me to it.
Okay, so before we actually start giving out the awards, why don't you guys just talk us through the categories this year? And once again, I think the conversation starter makes its entrance here as well.
No, we've done conversation starters for the last couple of years.
Oh, okay.
That's basically kind of new up and coming companies that have changed things up quite a bit, companies that have been super busy over the past couple of months. Basically companies that people are talking about. Might not necessarily fit into any one of the niches for the other awards that we're doing, but some of them do, some of them don't. But definitely companies that have been making headlines for the past couple of months. So they're our standard for. We've called them a couple of different things. At one point we called them rising stars, and another point we called them, I think, one to watch or something like that. But conversation starter seems to fit because we're all about conversations at CRM, so seemed to fit.
And you're starting the conversation by naming them.
Right. All right. So this is going to be the reveal of, I think, all 11 categories. The very first time you'll see all the winners. We're going to announce them all during the course of this hour. But this is also a special print edition, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This is one of our two print editions a year. And so everybody that's, the current subscriber will receive it probably, should be receiving it this week. So
I think it went in the mail this morning, I think. So if it's not in your mailbox in the next couple of days, it should be.
So I would assume that the digital edition of the print edition is also available to download
online. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that goes online live tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to spoil the surprise for the show.
Awesome. So
thank you.
So let's get into it because we got a lot of ground to cover with this. But I guess we're going to start right where you kind of left off there, Len, with the conversation starters. So let's bring that up.
List this year. We've had quite a number of turnaround stories on this lineup.
So here are the folks who made the 2026 CRM Industry Awards conversation starters list.
And the winners are
Oracell, Clary Salesloft, Message Gears, Shirophone, and Survey Monkey. Oracell is an interesting one. They're a brand new company, just started the end of last year. And their whole premise behind the founding and the moving forward was taking like 15, 20 different products in one set and trying to mash them together isn't working anymore. So their idea was to get rid of what they're calling software sprawl and turning a dozen or more sales and revenue platforms into one kind of platform. And they've pretty much accomplished it for the most part with some of their products. The other one is Clary and SalesLoft, which kind of came together in December, and they're already positioned themselves as a leader in that whole category of revenue data, combining all of that. Message Gears got up there. They were solving one of marketing's biggest problems, challenges, whatever you want to call it, which would be this whole idea of multiple teams across scattered products, locations, brands, different business units and that. And they're kind of positioning themselves to kind of bring all of those together into one platform. Shirafune is a digital ad platform. They've just kind of entered in a big way the U.S. market. They had been in Japan for a long time. And they've greatly expanded their reach, not only into geographies, but into product portfolios, integrations. They've kind of really blossomed. And the last one is SurveyMonkey, which most people are familiar with. It's certainly not any kind of a new company. It's been around for decades, but they've gone through different rebrands, location changes, acquisitions, name changes, and now they're kind of back and they're under the SurveyMonkey label again, and they're really flourishing the way they once were. So they're kind of a comeback story rather than a rising star or new player, but certainly worthy of notice.
That was the first question that came to mind.
Yeah,
when Paul and I saw this, like, wow, SurveyMonkey. But thanks for explaining that, because I think there's a lot of people who might have even forgotten about them, and to hear that not only are they around, but they're kind of morphed and are thriving at this point is really cool to see.
Well, at one point they abandoned the SurveyMonkey name, and I think they were going under the Get Feedback, which was one of the acquisitions and that. So for a while there, the name kind of disappeared, but they brought it back in the last couple of months, and I'm glad they did.
well, so am I. Actually, I mean, I was still getting SurveyMonkey surveys. Yeah, a lot of the political groups use them still, right? So I was getting a dozen every quarter, let's say. There were probably still SurveyMonkey throughout all of this. So they've still got a foundational presence, and good for them that they're now figured out how to take it forward. That's a good story.
Taking it forward is a good thing, because we're taking this forward. The next one up, this is a biggie here. Enterprise CRM suites.
The biggest.
Now we got these broken out. There's winners, and then there's ones to watch. So I think the format is we're going to go with the folks who are the winners, and then the ones to watch will follow up. So you guys ready for the winners of the Enterprise?
Just to explain what the difference is. The winners, basically what we did this year, and it's something we've adopted over the past couple of years. We changed the format a little bit. We go to our analyst friends who we showed in the previous slide, and basically ask them two questions. If a client came to you and was looking to adopt any one of these solutions, whether it's enterprise, CRM, or any of the other 11 categories, if a company came to you and was looking to do something in that particular area, which 5 companies would you recommend they look at, put on their short list, whatever you want to call it, and why? And then what we did, we took the top 5 vote getters out of all of those and came up with that's the list of the 5. And then the other ones that got mentioned but didn't make that top 5 are listed as the ones to watch.
All right. So with all that said, let's see who the winners are of the Enterprise Suite. Yeah. Well, some of these are the usual suspects, but you know what? There are a few that are kind of new to this particular, this category at least. So we got
Well,
Salesforce, ServiceNow, Pega, Microsoft, and
The
Oracle.
ServiceNow is a good one to bring back. Their focus had, at least as far as perception was concerned, had kind of moved away from CRM. So it's good to see that they're coming back in, and that they're backing up their words. They had mentioned, I guess, at their last conference that they wanted to rebrand and come back to CRM's roots and that. So it's good to see that they're following up on that, and I guess the analysts have noticed.
I'll say one other one that's noticeable is we've seen Pega kind of grow from, I think, the mid-market. I know they were on a mid-market list,
Upper end,
a couple of times, but now they have reached all the way up to the enterprise, at least in terms of analysts looking at them as one that they would recommend. That's really cool to see. Companies that have been around that might have started on one category and have kept at it, and now an enterprise CRM suite recommendation. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing Pega's always known how to do is scale. Right? When they had to, let's say, pivot to something, they could still scale it, and they could deal with complexity probably better than anybody. Yeah, they don't forget their roots, which was BPM, business process management, but it was big scale, upper end of mid market, bleeding into enterprise, kind of complex process. They could handle that just fantastically well.
All right, so let's keep it moving. And not to shortchange the other winners here. Those are like the usual suspects we're used to seeing Salesforce and Oracle and Microsoft, but it is kind of cool to see even at the highest end of the CRM enterprise suite market, there's some movement. There's things that are going on that at least we have some new names come to this particular category, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, especially this category because it is high end. So you definitely, enterprise level CRM. So the company has to be a very large company to be able to, kind of service that market as well. So, it cuts down the number of new entries, put it that way. So,
all right, let's go to the ones to watch, because
absolutely.
We're seeing in the enterprise space, once again, we've seen Creatio and Zendesk and Zoho numerous times throughout a number of categories, but now they're creeping closer too. So it's also really cool to see companies like Zoho, Creatio, and Zendesk ones to watch for enterprise level CRM.
That is
most of these started out in the mid-level smaller business thing like Zoho, and to see them go upstream is pretty impressive, and they've done it fairly quickly too.
Yeah, both Creatio and Zoho, and Zendesk for that matter. Zendesk's current president of product is an enterprise guy, and he really taken that and kicked it up quite a bit in the last. I think he's been there about 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years now. I would call. I don't want to say he's totally responsible for it, but he's played a huge role in making Zendesk enterprise ready. And Creatio and Zoho, honestly, it's kind of expected almost that they were going to be able to do it, because whatever they put their minds to, they do. They're both companies.
This almost seems like these guys almost seem like very similar in some ways, in that they're cracking, the enterprise market and going upstream. But maybe that's just, what happens after 20 years in business, 25 years in business, whatever.
Well, Creatio and Zoho in specific have all three pillars, where Zendesk doesn't. Zendesk doesn't really, but the other two do, right? Yeah. And they always have had it. So, and integrated too, which is even better when you're doing the enterprise.
So that'll make this category more interesting next year, Len.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Okay. Well, let's move it on, because I think the next up is the mid-market and SMB CRM suites. Anything to say before we unveil the winners?
Basically, these are the companies catering more to the 1,000 seat and below type of a company, not necessarily, these giant companies that have 30,000 salespeople scattered all over the world. These are more, and it takes a different type of company to reach that market, to understand what kind of players are involved. We're seeing a lot more movement to the cloud in this kind of space because of the economics. Seeing a lot more reliance on data privacy because they don't have the legal giant lawyer teams on staff to help them when they get caught and stuff. So we're seeing a lot more privacy concerns with them.
Okay. Let's look at the winners. Here's the winners of mid-market SMB CRM suites. And once again, these are pretty much usual suspects. We have Zoho again, Creatio, Salesforce, HubSpot, and the one difference is Sugar AI used to be the artist formerly known as Sugar CRM. So now they're Sugar AI. What makes these folks still there? I mean, lots of times when companies go upstream, they kind of forget the lower end of the market. But companies like Zoho, Creatio, Salesforce, they're playing at pretty much all the levels, but they're still respected and recommended by a lot of analysts out there.
Well, a lot of them started in this segment. Soho, Creatio, HubSpot to a certain degree, Sugar. They all kind of got their roots in this one. Salesforce is a newer entry. They only started recently, a couple of years with that Salesforce starter pack and Essentials. Yeah, they kind of got a couple of products that they came out with that, anything Salesforce does is going to catch some notice. So when they entered this space, it certainly caught some eyeballs.
Let me just address Alan with the, I guess he's calling that humor relief. Yeah. Thanks, Alan.
Corporate narrative strikes again.
All right. And let's go to the ones to watch from here. It's just fascinating to me because not just because of the companies, but it seems like there's a lot more activity at the low end, but yet and still the analysts really didn't see a lot of things that they could recommend beyond Monday and Pipedrive.
And Paul, I know this was one of yours was Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the thing with Monday that's interesting, they started out as basically, cloud-based task management, kind of like Axe started out and ended up with Sales Logics a little later on. Similar kind of path, but to their credit, look, they've got a ways to go. They do. But to their credit, they've really, they've penetrated pretty damn deeply. Like for example, I ran into a partner of Sugar AI this is a couple of years ago, and he had just also partnered with Monday, and this was in Ireland. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's like these guys have penetration. It's a capable, SFA particularly. And it's cloud-based, and where they're going to beat a lot of the other ones is collaboration on the collaborative side, because they're built for it. So their possibility is pretty strong for some. I pay attention to them. There's nothing guaranteed, of course, but I pay attention to them because they've got some real legs.
Yeah, one thing too about not just, I guess, the small end enterprise. These names have been around. You haven't seen a lot of like brand spanking new entries into these, at least mid-market and up CRM. I think it's just because there's so much room. There's a lot of players in it, but it's hard to get the kind of the mind share and the market share from companies that have been around forever. And a lot of the folks that are working at these companies that we tend to see a lot, they kind of rotate from one of those companies to another one of those companies to another one of those companies. So you see a lot of people in the industry at the executive level that have worked at almost all of these places at one point in time. Maybe it makes it hard for a company that's coming outside of that bubble to really have an impact. But I'll be curious to see if this changes over the next year or so because of AI, and AI allows these smaller companies to compete in a much bigger way than they were in the past.
Good, really good point.
All right, let's keep it moving. Let's see what's up next. Contact center infrastructure.
Just before we move on,
Yep.
do you guys feel, and I'm sure I'm going to skew this answer, but that just AI is just like dominating investment right now, and it's causing other things to kind of stagnate unless you're coming out with something, where you can really focus on the AI or market that part of it. It's just tough to attract investment. I don't know.
It is. No, there's no question it is. In fact, I remember we had a conversation in a happy hour one time with one of our regulars, and he owns a company, and he was doing some AI stuff. And I said, "So why are you doing AI?" That's why I just asked him, and he said, "Because I have to." Right. And that's pretty much the way it works, right? It's not, that was actually the right answer, right? It wasn't like he was.
I mean, look at 2001, 2002, where everybody's got to go, .com and become a cloud company, in that little 5-year time span. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there. Huh?
ASPs.
Right.
ASP market.
Well, you can't escape AI, even if you try to.
Yeah.
The money is all going there. I mean,
that's it. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, but it also does give smaller companies an opportunity to do something that they might not have been able to do in the past because they can do so much. Like you look at Anthropic or OpenAI or all. Now you have to look at what's going on with XAI. It's all AI all the time, and so yeah. It'll be interesting to see how things progress outside of the AI bubble that we just are stuck in right now.
Right. It almost seems like if things stand to, keep the cycle going in, 5 years or so, lots of the AI companies may be very inexpensive again.
Yeah.
And you kind of pick up, the ones that didn't make it.
Yeah.
I'm
saving up. I'm saving up right now. Just
Paul Greenberg AI.
I'm waiting for that to happen. So,
all right, contact center infrastructure. What's up with this?
This again is a pretty common category. We've had it for the last couple of years. Basically, this is the pipes that go into the contact center. So this is the dialers and the routers and the IVRs and whatever chat bots and voice bots and whatever other automation goes into, basically the pipes going into the contact center and what the agents are using to put stuff out there to the customers who are calling.
All right. So here are the winners of contact center infrastructure category.
Not too much surprise.
Yeah, literally none. So, want to read them off?
We got Amazon Connect, Five9, Genesis, Nice, TalkDesk. Yeah, we've all seen these. Why do you think these are really the five that come up all the time? Is it just harder to make inroads when companies like this have been around forever and have such a big mind share, but also the expertise in the ability to use this infrastructure to go from different kinds of channels and formats of what people thought of the contact center. And now the contact center is really what people are going to mine all that rich data that can help with the AI.
Well, this category is kind of interesting because there's a lot of players in this, but these 5 companies are really the ones that have everything together. Like you get a lot of companies that are just dialer companies or just phone companies or just routing companies or intelligent, IVR, intelligent agents, intelligent automation companies. That there's a lot of companies that'll do little pieces of it here and there. These five, though, are kind of the ones that have really gotten everything together.
All right, let's go to the ones to watch. Now, there's a lot of interesting companies. Like Zoom is now a one to watch in this space. I'm not even familiar with Content Guru, so maybe Len, you could walk us through some of these companies.
Well, most of these are. Well, Zoom actually started, as everybody knows, with the conferencing collaboration thing, but they've gotten into the contact center space in recent years. Verint has been around forever. I think a lot of people were a little hesitant to put them on the leader category just because they had that whole acquisition with Thoma Bravo, and then there was the what do we do with Calabrio and some of the other companies. They were trying to figure out how everything was going to piece together. So Verint's kind of been around forever, but I think that was based on kind of the feedback I was getting. There was a little skepticism there as far as how everything's going to shake out at the end. Salesforce, they're actually fairly new to the contact center. You don't necessarily think of them as a contact center, but with that agent force and a lot of their AI stuff has been focused more in this area, so they're fairly new. Ring Central's been around for a while. They focused primarily on the communication side. Now they've gotten into a lot more of the contact center, probably just out of requirement more than anything else, that just being a phone company isn't good enough anymore. So Content Guru, they're an interesting one. They're a fairly new company. They haven't been around as long as some of these other players, but what they have really good stuff. So that's basically what most of the analysts that chimed in about them were saying.
I'm glad to see a little new blood, because like I said, I'm kind of unfamiliar with Content Guru. Looking forward to learning more about them. All right, let's keep it moving. Next up is, I think it's contact center interaction. Yeah, interaction analytics. Any backstory to this before we jump into the winners, Len?
It started out primarily as a speech analytics thing when everything was basically phone run, phone dominant. But as other players and other technologies have gotten into play, you start getting things like texts, messages, and faxes, and emails, and social media that we kind of had to expand the category beyond basic just speech to interaction, because so many different channels now are involved.
I remember years ago, one of your winners with the other magazine was Nexidia, right? I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
NVIDIA?
They're Nexidia. They're part of, they were acquired by NICE, and they're in that bucket now.
Yeah, that was prior to the acquisition of NICE. You guys had them winning, and they attended when we did the joint CRM Evolution, thing
Speech Tech,
with Speech Tech. They attended both. I remember I saw them and talked to them there, and and you gave them an award later that year. They were good. They're a very good product.
All right, so let's move forward. See who won this year.
Well, there's the aforementioned NICE, as we discussed. Coal Miner 2 started out on the speech side for the most part. Verint as well was primarily a speech, and then they've expanded. Cresta also. Genesis is a fairly new one. The analytics side is a relatively newer one for them. They were mostly pipes and that, but the stuff that they do is very good. What analysts said, that they're fairly new in this area, but what they've done, they're one of the leading companies as far as AI is concerned, and moving all of this stuff into the cloud, so it's a lot more collaborative, and you can do a lot more with the data that you get.
Yeah, their overall expanded profile over the last few years has been pretty extraordinary. They've gone from they used to be basically, to your point, I don't want to say exactly a hardware provider, but basically they were providing, infrastructure, like physical infrastructure in early days. And then now they're everywhere. And anything related to communication, um, and also customer facing, intelligence and analytics, and at the same time, AI now too, they're there, right? And they're really a success story and a half, as far as their expanded profile goes, and they're doing a great job.
All right, the ones to watch. Oh, Len, you had something to say?
Nope.
Let's see who the ones to watch in this area is.
Wow.
Now, this is overloaded. This is really interesting. Where in the small CRM market, you had I think 2. Here, there's like 6 or 7 to watch, and companies like once again, Salesforce their footprint seems to be growing bigger and is spreading into multiple categories that you traditionally didn't see them in.
But a lot of these started off in the voice area exclusively, and then they've kind of branched out. 8x8 was purely a phone company at one point. Sestek was primarily the speech area. Unifor was a big speech. Then they kind of branched into text and other platforms. RingCentral was primarily a phone-based one. Qualtrics was primarily like a feedback company at one point, I think was their original roots.
Surveys and feedback.
And then they've kind of branched into this.
Yeah, well, this one makes complete sense for Qualtrics. I mean, my God, their analytics footprint's huge.
So there's a lot of activity in this space, which is why we're seeing all these companies. Because usually you don't see this many companies to watch with the group of analysts that we typically have. Interesting. And Observe AI is one that. How was that on there? It seems like I remember seeing them mentioned last year, but I don't know if I saw them on a win or a one to watch list.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and look.
But now I'm going to watch it because I'm curious to see what they do, especially in this space, because this space is really crowded, and seems maybe it's even getting more crowded as time goes on with the way that AI is impacting all these things.
CRM Playaz is one too. Look on the top.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's right.
Yeah. Moving right along. All right. Let's see what we got next. Unified CX platform. Anything before moving right into the winners?
This is a category we came up with within the last year or two. It's a fairly new category for us, and it basically takes the platform suite approach. As I was saying earlier, with some of the technologies, a lot of it was point solutions here, point solutions there, and the companies that are really making a difference are the ones that are able to pull all of this stuff together, so you don't have to try and worry about integration problems with my Verint solution doesn't work with my Nice this, or I got Cresta for this and I got somebody else for that, and I can't get them to talk to each other. So a lot of companies have basically come out and said, we're going to put everything together in one suite. Don't worry, you don't have to integrate. You don't have to create all kinds of fancy middleware and hire fancy consultants and that to get everything to work together. We're going to do it for you.
And those winners are the triumvirate is still there. Genesis, Nice, and Verint, and Pega and Salesforce. It's interesting seeing Salesforce, and Pega, how they're branching out. But Salesforce, we're seeing in a number of categories here that we didn't used to see them in before.
Yeah. They've really made a push towards the customer service. I mean, for the longest time, Salesforce was their bailiwick, but they've really gotten into the other two pillars as a whole over the last couple of years. I mean, the contact center stuff is fairly new for them. That's only within the last 3 or 4 years that they've really made that push.
And the ones to watch. Sorry, ServiceNow. I don't know how that green thing out there, but we're still watching you either. Oracle, Microsoft, Zoom, ServiceNow, and Five9. It's like a kind of a unique mix of companies, because usually some of these companies you don't think about in terms of this category, but we know them all too well.
Right. Oracle, well, they had that whole Right Now Technologies, which kind of launched them into this space. Microsoft, they've really made a push with their dynamic CRM into this area. Zoom, again, I had mentioned they started out as that collaboration, conferencing kind of a thing, and then they've gotten into the contact center space. ServiceNow, again, making that big push back into the CRM industry after kind of falling off for a bit. Five9's always kind of been around. They're just bringing everything together now.
Yeah, the Five9 one's the one most interesting to me. I mean, ServiceNow, they were a service ops company, and they used to say that and make it clear that they were not other things. But they, 2019, they began realizing the impact of service ops on customer experience, and they accordingly started building appropriately. And it happened with their Disney Plus operation. I'm not going to go into the story, we don't have time, but that was a pivotal point for the company, recognizing CX, service ops' impact on CX.
Nice. All right, man, we're doing pretty good on time. Let's keep it moving. Next up, workforce engagement management.
This is a category, it's undergone a couple of different changes. It started off as WFO, workforce optimization, then it became workforce management, then it became workforce engagement, and then it's workforce engagement management now. And it's gotten a lot of other things have added into it. It started off, it was just basically, let me guarantee I've got a contact center. Let me make sure that there's a button to seat so when the phone rings, somebody's there to answer it. Now it's gotten into stuff where it's coordinating AI bots and people together, and forecasting, scheduling, and AI is really taking a hold in this area so that you can predict how much volume you're going to get and how many people you're going to need to fill it. And it's gotten very scientific and very spreadsheet heavy, but it's not spreadsheets anymore. It's all automated.
And the winners in there are
Shackaroo.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because I remember seeing this kind of happen last year too with NICE, Genesis, and Verint. All three of them seem to be heavily thought of and respected amongst at least the analyst community when it comes to this area of the contact center, and how that's really seems to be driving a lot of activity around customer experience because of all the information and all the interactions that are taking place in the call center. And then now with workforce engagement, it's not just human interactions now. Now you're talking about treating agents and devices like digital workers. So they once again actually start to fall underneath in this category, just like humans. So it's really cool, or interesting at least, to see like Assembled. That's a different kind of company that I haven't seen mentioned in the awards before. Well, and they're a winner.
Them and Success KPI, the other ones, NICE, Genesis, Verint, they do a lot of different contact center stuff. Assembled and Success KPI, those WFM, WEM, whatever you want to call it, whichever acronym you want to use, that's all they do. So for the two of them, that's their specialty, and they do it really well.
Let's see who the ones to watch are.
A lot again.
And once again, yeah, there's a lot. And I'm gonna put something out there. Maybe a couple of years from now, it'll come true, because of, I think it was one of those acquisitions that ServiceNow made around kind of devices being managed to be able to be a part of that AI control tower. And being able to have that the ability to manage devices, kind of like they manage other resources, including human resources. Maybe at some point there'll be a one to watch here too, from coming from the other perspective, from where these other guys are coming from. But it'll be interesting to see.
What's the lower right-hand corner one? The one with
It
the
was a
C and the
company,
diamond.
Is that Chris? What's that? The one that the
Cisne,
like
the
the
C with the
Cisne.
diamond, Cisne. Yeah, they're a
Cisne.
they're a smaller company, I guess, a specialty shop.
Okay, don't know them.
Yeah, but it's interesting. We are seeing companies that we really haven't ever seen before, which is kind of cool. Especially after being in this industry for as long as we have, to start seeing new blood rise to the top outside of the kind of the traditional companies. It's pretty cool. Pretty excited about that. Let's see. Let's go to.
Yeah, my
This is a
favorite
big one.
category.
Yeah.
This is my
Customer
favorite
journey
category.
orchestration. What should we know about this before we start showing the winners?
This is a new category for us. We launched it, I think last year was the first year we ran this one. And this one basically deals with a lot of analytics involved. There's a lot of feedback involved, and how companies, from start to finish. So it's not just customer calls. We answer the call. We say, here's what you need to do. He hangs up and he's happy. It goes all the way through to the end of the whole process of, following up and any kind of other stuff that might be happening in that process. And it goes across all the channels, because it's not just phone anymore. It's starts on the phone, then he has to get bounced to an IVR to answer this question, and the bot picks up when he wants to do this, and then he has to transfer back to an agent who tells him to go on social media because DM is a lot quicker, and there's all kinds of stuff going on there.
The power of the best of the platforms is that they can track either millions of customers across all channels, and track their path. And so you can see sort of larger trends, like why are all the customers group going here when they should be, if things are working perfectly, going here. Or you can drill all the way down to an individual customer and design a highly personalized response in real time to that individual. Those are the best one. My paradigm, of course, was Thunderhead, which I thought was the best product I've seen in my entire 30 years of being an analyst. And now, of course, with everything going on, AI is going to play a huge part in that.
All right, here are the winners. Wow, we got Genesis, but not Verint. I'm so used to seeing Genesis, Verint, and Nice together, but this is one that as a different set of companies. We see a Medallia, Adobe, Qualtrics, CSG, and Genesis. Are there any surprises here? I'm
Medallia was an interesting one, because that was part of that they were caught up in that whole Verint thing for a while there, because Thoma Bravo acquired them a couple of years ago, and then they kind of languished for a while, and nobody was sure once Verint came in what that was going to leave room for Medallia to do, and how the two would factor into each other, and eventually Thoma Bravo parted ways with them and spun them off out on their own again. So they were an interesting one to see that they've come back into this space.
Well, honestly, they acquired Thunderhead, so I would have to say that bulk of their position here is because they literally have that product, and that is a great product.
Yeah, Adobe's an interesting one too. They're relatively new in this space, but they've got all kinds of stuff where they're throwing feedback together, and where you can pull, who goes where, and they're tracking. And
their product it's an early version, and it's terrific especially for an early version. It's absolutely astounding. For a mature product, it's really good. Right. So, and it's Journey Optimizer is I think the product name. It's a fantastically good product for the space. And CSG had acquired Kite Wheel, which was outside of Thunderhead, the second best product. So what you're seeing a lot here of Adobe's is native, but Medallia and CSG were both, they acquired, in order, the best and the second best product on the market. So on the strength of that is one of the reasons you see them there.
I don't remember Genesis. Well, this is a new. There was a journey orchestration last year, right? Wasn't that the first year you used that? Genesis was there. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
Too. That's kind of a big part of their whole cloud CX platform now is this idea of journeys and following from start to finish.
Oh, actually, you know what? One last thing. Qualtrics acquired, I forgot that. Qualtrics acquired UserMind, which is another journey orchestration product. So there's a lot of acquisition. There's names on top of acquisition there, which makes sense. I mean, they don't have to develop something natively to be good at it. So these are companies that have picked up basically the leaders in the industry when they were independent.
And here's the list of ones to watch, which once again, this is a growing list. And there are the usual suspects that you think you would typically see. And look, Nice and Verint are still ones to watch here, even though Genesis broke free and is a winner. I'm not familiar with Axum Gaming.
Well, Axum's the one I've told you about because I do want to say this. So Axum brought me out of retirement. That's how good I think their opportunity is, and what they're doing. They're an agentic AI firm doing journey orchestration with agentic AI. And honestly, I had no intention of doing consulting work with any company. And these are ex-Thunderhead people, all of them. Pretty much the CEO is, the guy who's helping them on the architecture is, and so on. The product kind of blew me away, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to work with these guys. That's how good it's an early product, and it's not one I would ever recommend to have won this year, right? But in time, this is a company, and they're landing customers all over the place. So it's a fascinating company, and again, it's got to be something if it took me out of retirement for, in that regard. So, so I'm not terribly surprised. Look, honestly, I'm one of the people who obviously put them there. Right. So, and they're beyond gaming at this point too. They're actually moving into other areas.
Well, I guess what I'm picking up is
a lot of this industry started on that whole gamification idea too, that was a big part of
way back when Medallia was built on it.
And what I'm seeing is all these big companies are starting to compete in these different categories. Like they've been competing in certain categories forever. Now they're all branching out and trying to get their stake in on other aspects. And it's really interesting to see how traditional CRM suite application who are used to being in that category, are and the folks that are traditionally on the contact center, they're competing over in certain categories like this, coming at it from different kind of perspectives, but knowing the importance of what this does. Really interesting stuff here.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what's next. Oh, it's funny because you don't hear the term as much because AI has basically covered up everything. But these things are just as important now than they were when they were front and center. Yeah. So what should we be knowing about this particular category?
Well, this particular category, I mean, at one point it was strictly database kind of stuff. Now customer data platforms do so much more stuff. There's so much more involved in there. There's AI, there's predicting what a customer is going to ask for and how quickly can we get it to them. There's all kinds of forecasting. There's all kinds of customer knowledge incorporated into it and being able to retrieve the information quickly. Cloud has been a big thing because everything is so data heavy. There's so much information that trying to store it on how in-house is nightmare. So a lot of companies are turning to data stuff, and then you get into all kinds of privacy issues with that. Who's got access to what? There's a lot of moving parts now that weren't there before. It's gotten to be a really big category with lots of moving pieces.
Or just conflicts? Is that like the biggest category of issues? Just trying to marry all the conflicts?
Yeah, that's certainly a big portion of it. The privacy again is a big factor as far as who has access to what information, and you want to make sure that only the people that need the information can see it. And how do you keep hackers away from it? It's gotten into a lot more, like I said, gotten so far into so many other areas that never were there before.
And also a shout out to David Rabb for creating the category to begin with.
And shout out to the folks who won. Oracle. Twilio makes an appearance here. Telium.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
since they got that segment. I mean,
That's right. This segment. Yeah, that was a huge.
The database.
Yeah.
Data company, so it's not surprising to see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Helium, fairly new one. They apparently have really done some impressive stuff the last couple of years.
Yeah, we talked to a guy from Telium on Playaz a few years.
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think that I thought I remember seeing them last year, but maybe this is the first year they're on here. And of course, Salesforce and Adobe. That makes total sense that those guys are there.
Yeah, Salesforce with that data cloud, that's just gone haywire.
Let's check out the ones to. There were no ones to watch. That's right.
No ones to watch on that category. That was what we saw. What we got.
Yeah, interesting. I would suspect that there's probably going to be more action over the years.
Kevin Nix's comments kind of germane to it.
One could argue you can't do great CRM AI without a great. I mean, you can't do AI at all good if you don't have good data.
Yeah.
So this totally makes sense. That's a great comment.
Which goes to your point of probably we're going to see more action on it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we're seeing more company names show up in these categories that aren't specific to the big platform CRM plays. It's like everything around that. It seems like we're seeing more and more activity, which I think it does kind of make sense because it's kind of hard to get mind share with analysts when you're talking about CRM because there's so many traditional big players that take up all the space. But this is interesting stuff here.
And I'll tell you, Kevin Nix, for those of you who don't know him, is an industry pioneer. He went all the way back to Siebel. He was one of the early leaders of Siebel. He's uncanny in figuring out what the present and the future look like. And if he ever tells you you should invest in something, invest in it. That's all I should tell you. He doesn't fail at that.
All right, Kevin, let's see some comments. We want to see some.
And he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
He'll be really nice if he gives us some good tips. Let's put it like that. All right. Look, speaking of CRM Magazine, David Myron, it's good to see and hear from you. CDP is very expensive. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Does AI make it any less expensive? Maybe we'll see. I don't know. Moving forward. Up next. Talk about a very traditional category.
Yeah, one of the old timers, man.
Knowledge management. What's going on with that, Len?
How to make a fire.
Basically, at this point, a lot of that is, again, AI taking over. And, again, how you can get his information as quickly as possible, as accurately as possible, as accessible as possible.
Don't worry, no pressure. Yeah, no pressure. Just give us those good tips. That's all. All right, let's go to the winners. Now we're seeing some more Shelf is one I'm not very familiar
me
with.
either.
But we're seeing a mix of traditional, but once again, Verint and Salesforce kind of come at it from different angles, and then these other three. So maybe you could walk us through this, because this is really some territory that I'm not used to seeing, or companies I'm not used to seeing.
I honestly didn't even think eGame was still around.
I remember eGame. I
me
kind of
too.
forgot about that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of their bailiwick. I mean, that's where they still make their bread and butter, is that whole knowledge management area.
Yeah.
KMS, well, KM, knowledge management. So that seems to be a logical, basically, it's right there in the name. Shelf, I'm not too familiar with Shelf either. That was a new company for me. I hadn't really seen them too much, but apparently the analysts that didn't know them knew quite a bit about them and thought they were really good stuff. They said it's a new player, but it's one of those companies that, they're new, but they really know their stuff, and they're willing to work with customers to find out what they need.
I wonder if shelf means like bookshelf.
Well, it looks
I'm
like
speculating
there's
what
shelves on the logo there. And
yeah, that's what I mean. So bookshelves, maybe knowledge books. Who knows?
I hope that's, and I'll be looking to learn more about them. But I love the potential of new companies taking a new take on an old category and seeing if they can shake it up or make it a little more. I don't want to say interesting, but just do it in a different way than it's been done in the past. So
it says that they're an AI knowledge management platform built for Gen AI.
Okay. Well, it sounds interesting. We'll keep an eye on it.
They're also in a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for customer service knowledge management systems.
So they specialize in customer service knowledge management.
Yeah,
they're agentic too. They have shelf agentic operating system.
They got a lot in there.
Yeah.
But once again, I think it'll be cool to watch to see how a company like that makes its mark and potentially changes what we think of when we think of knowledge management. I would love to see something like that happen. David Myron says knowledge management helps to power agent assist capabilities. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Let's see the ones to watch here.
Well, that's a lot.
You notice it's always like these categories that aren't like the pillar categories, but they're important nonetheless. And you see a mix of traditional platform kind of CRM companies, and then you see these other kind of companies like Atlassian is totally, and Guru. I mean, this is knowledge management for as traditional as it is, the way that it's breaking out in these categories, winners and ones to watch. It's like a whole bunch of different takes or styles or perspectives closing in on this particular area. And I think that's what'll make it fun to watch over the next couple of years.
You have to imagine.
And the categories absorbed a lot of other technologies. It's not just knowledge and stuff. It's people, their brain power and what they've stored over the years that they were working a particular job, and how do you bring that into bear? It's content management. It's so many other technologies that are kind of getting absorbed into this category.
And I think we had our buddy Shashi mention a little earlier, categories are blurring, and it is going to be kind of difficult to kind of keep up with a lot of this stuff. But it also makes it kind of fun because you see all these different kinds of companies trying to tackle a traditional challenge or some subject, but they're doing it in a different way than we've looked at it in the past, which I think is pretty cool.
And then you have these little niche players that emerge, and somebody else wants to get into that particular area, so they look to acquire. And there's a lot of M&A activity going on with all of this stuff too. That that's something we've joked around in the past, looking over the 25 years. That you had a lot of those like conversation starter type companies that 6 months after we name them a conversation starter, that it get acquired by somebody else, and that seems to be, industry consolidation has always been something that's heavy in CRM.
All right, we're getting close to the end, so let's keep it moving. All right, now we're hitting the traditional
Yeah.
powerhouse here, marketing automation. And Lynn, what do we all know what this is, but how is it any different?
Not much has really changed. I mean, it's different platforms as far as, starting to see a lot more digital, social media, connected TVs, streaming services. So where the marketing is appearing is different in some respects, but the underlying capabilities are still pretty much the same. How do you reach the right audience at the right time with the right message?
Let's see. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of usual suspects, but let's see.
Pretty much all of them.
So,
Oh, there's
Actually, Clavia and or Clavio in Active Campaign. They've been around, but I don't recall them being hitting one of the winner categories here.
Clavio, I think Clavio might have been there.
Yeah, I think they won last year.
Active Campaign didn't, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's a fairly new entry as far as our analysts are concerned. But apparently they made a lot of big moves this year. They came up with a lot of new product releases that caught a lot of attention. The other three, Zoho, they've been around for a while. HubSpot's got that marketing hub that's been one of their products, and Salesforce has been,
Yeah, they got a number of stuff.
I'm not going to say who they are, but it's kind of interesting who's not on this list.
I think I know one of them.
Yeah, at least one, at least two, really. But yeah.
All right, let's see the ones to watch.
Maybe they're on this list.
There it is.
That's
About one.
That was the one.
Usually they are a winner, and to see them as a one to watch is a little bit of a surprise.
I don't think I put them on the watch one. I think I had them on the front.
I think I had them on the front too, but
yeah,
things are changing. I mean, it's really interesting. Even the most traditional of categories, things are changing. It seems to be changing pretty quickly. So we have, I think this is the last category up, the most traditional of categories when it comes to CRM. We're talking Salesforce automation.
Oh,
yeah.
Anything to say before we jump into the winners and the ones to watch?
Probably pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it's gotten to the point though where it's not just people anymore. There's AI involved, and there's automation, and bots are doing a lot of the function, and it's a question of people doing their research before they reach out to the salespeople. So the salespeople are jumping into the process a lot later on during the cycle. People have already done most of their background research ahead of time. So when they come to the salesperson, they're basically looking for, I'm thinking about getting you guys, just confirm for me what I already know or what I already suspect type of a deal. So it's given a different level of automation, but it's still basically sellers trying to get as much ground as they can, as quickly as they can.
All right, let's see who the winners and ones to watch are here. Winners, no surprises really here.
These are the guys. These are the staunch stalwarts that have been around forever and doing this forever, and that's their specialty.
I'm trying to think. It's. I mean, HubSpot started out mostly marketing, but they have a product that people, especially on the lower end of the food chain, seem to appreciate and like. So, it's interesting though. Microsoft has been on there a couple of times, but you don't really hear from them in terms of like doing some kind of market influencing thought leadership stuff in those particular areas outside of now the AI and the Copilot, of course,
right?
But when you think of the traditional CRM stuff, you don't hear a lot from them yet.
I think Dynamics is just such a small part of their business. It's
you mentioned that with the Copilot, a lot of what's going on now with the sales area is that Copilot type stuff where the salesperson is looking for in real time he's on the phone with a guy, and the guy's not necessarily buying what he has to say, and he's got to revise his pitch a little, and there's kind of this nudge guidance going on where, hey, why don't you try offering this or mention this? That Microsoft kind of brought that to bear, or brought that's kind of their strength with that whole Copilot thing, that a lot of Microsoft might not necessarily be directly involved in a lot of the sales products, but that Copilot thing is huge on a lot of the companies that are maybe looking to add that, would look to a Microsoft to add the Copilot functionality.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like this is the first step into using the true power of all these these platforms. So in many cases, I think they just give it away for free. HubSpot, Salesforce, that first step to get your data, get you used to it, and then you're upsold. So yeah,
I wonder how much
the old Salesforce automation market is a tempting way to get into a Salesforce or Oracle or HubSpot, whatever.
Well, think about how Salesforce just integrated with Claude, and they gave, what was the first integration into the Claude connections and extensions with Salesforce, where Claude got 37 SFA connectors and applications and extensions, 37 SFA, right? So step one. I mean, that's a big deal. So
no, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
In marketing, that's the biggest deal. Getting that foot in the door.
Yeah,
And they conveniently call it Claude Force, so they still get their name quasi involved in there somehow.
You know what? One of the things I was wondering about when it comes to HubSpot is how much did their, let's just call it a faux pas, when they tried to change their data policy and had opted in, you had to opt out of your data being used for training, as instead of having to actually opt in, you were defaulted opted in, and they got all that blowback. I was curious as to how that would factor into some of the analysts judging, but apparently it wasn't that big a deal with them continuing to be a winner. But I'd keep an eye on that.
I don't recall in the analyst comments, I don't recall seeing that too much mentioned.
Interesting. That's
and I guess the one of the least surprising is Zoho. Zoho pretty much, it's funny, we haven't said a ton about Zoho, but they've been pretty much winning they've been in a number of them, probably about a third of the total if we're winning or one to watch. And the interesting thing is we expect them to be there, right? We just expect them to be there, which goes to the quality of excellence that they have, and also how much they interact with. Because keep in mind, we're all analysts, and there's 9 analysts on this thing, and then we're all people, and if we have relationships to the company, they're more likely to be more top of mind just because they are. And more likely to be the first ones you think about when you're thinking about this, and more likely net, even with the analysis you do, to end up on the winners or ones to watch. And Zoho, aside from the quality of excellence as a company, they also, that's Sandy's and the AR team's work is phenomenal in just making sure. I never met an analyst who told me that they disliked Zoho. Never, not a one.
But I think it also plays to Zoho has been involved in a number of these categories for years, but they were kind of under the radar. And as the years have gone by, you're seeing them pop up. And once they pop up, they get a lot of consensus positive kind of feedback from analysts. Yeah. So it's not surprising to see them all over.
The slightest.
It may be a little surprising not to see some companies in certain categories. But why don't we finish this off first and go to the ones to watch here to finish it off. I'm not really familiar with Spiro, but all the other ones, the
other ones are obvious and could just as well have won too.
Yeah.
Spiro, I think, is a niche player. I think they operate in a certain area for certain industries only. They're, as far as I know.
Yeah, I never heard of them. But the other three, again, they could have been on that first screen too.
Yeah.
All three of them.
You know what? That's the end of the awards. We went through 11 categories and the conversation started. We did pretty good. We were a little over, but it was good. Little. So any final thoughts before we tell people where they can go find all this great information?
Well, that was basically where I was going to go.
Once again,
the issue is coming out. It's a print issue, as Bob had mentioned, so it'll be out in the mailbox probably this week at one point in the next couple of days. It'll also be available online starting tomorrow. I think everything is scheduled to go live. You'll be able to see in the magazine a lot more detail as far as what the analysts said about the particular companies, why they voted a particular way, or which companies they felt were the leaders and why. There'll be a lot more detailed information in the actual magazine. Obviously, we're only limited to, we can only say so much and do so much here, but there's a lot more with the quotes and why companies got what they did, and that on the magazine version. So certainly look for that if it's going to be coming out.
Even though I suspect most people know it, why don't you give them the website address so that they know where to go to get it?
DestinationCRM.com, and then you can click on, there'll be a link for the current. We'll probably have it as
it'll be the lead story anyway.
Lead stories going forward for the next couple of weeks. We'll be running, one of the categories.
Perfect.
We got to get to this question. Where does a company like ACT fit in? Surprised not in SFA somewhere. I completely forgot about ACT. I'm sorry. It's just
Kevin,
not on.
That's legacy.
Yeah,
that's legacy.
Are they? So they're still around? Because remember they
are.
They got kind of bought and then they got spit out, and now I think they're independent. I haven't really looked at them in a while.
They do deserve an award of some sort just for longevity. Everybody knows ACT.
They were the contact management. They were like the Neanderthal man, Cro-Magnon man to modern man.
You bought a CD and you stuck it in.
And it was contact management.
Yeah, it was ACT and Goldmine.
Right.
Yes.
It was ACT. Goldmine was the network thing, but ACT was the first.
Yeah. No, I mean they came out almost around the same, like late 80s.
Yeah.
And believe me, we better John
Ferraro.
Yeah, because John Ferraro will be all over us if we don't mention that. One quick thing, Shashi, I just want to bring this up. How about a category sentiment prediction? I'm not necessarily sure what that actually means.
Sentiment prediction?
Well, her thing before that was marketing automation will be disrupted. So
Shashi, that's a guy
referring to it.
What about any predictions for next year? Because maybe it feels like there's some potentially new categories because of AI, and it feels like some categories are kind of like, I think he said earlier, kind of getting blurred. So do you see anything that might need to change next year in terms of categories, or what are you thinking after kind of going over this?
Certainly the blurring is a big factor. We're seeing a lot of some of these pieces getting merged into other of these pieces, like the workforce management is becoming part of that whole contact center analytics kind of a thing, and knowledge management and CDPs are kind of blending as far as what they can do together. And it'll be interesting to see how the technology pulls things together, because that seems to be the driving force more than anything else. Is as you develop this capability, you can do more of this type of function.
By the way, I'm just looking at Kevin. He says X has 1.2 million users.
Yeah, it's around. I've seen it around. I actually got an email from them about a year ago. And that's actually not out of the question kind of thing, really.
What, lifetime achievement? For sure. I mean, absolutely. If anybody's
they were pioneer.
Pat Sullivan and Mike Mooney.
Now we have give Pat Sullivan and crew many awards over the years, so we have.
He's probably covered because I think he got one for Sales Logics too, because that was a trailblazer at the time it came out as well.
Listen, they might deserve a lifetime achievement award. We gave you guys.
So next year, when all these data centers are coming online, what's going to happen?
Yeah, you're going to have to give up like a best data
enterprise software. You
just move to Manassas. We can handle them. We're the world's largest data center.
A best data center award and
Manassas, Virginia.
Data centers to watch.
Manassas, Virginia, best data center city.
All right. So, Paul, any last thoughts on what?
No, it was interesting. It was really interesting. I mean, it was like, to everybody's point combined, I would say a lot of the ones you expected and a sprinkling of new companies that were showing up, or you would see companies that were either moving categories or becoming more multi-categoried than they were in the past, right? That was noticeable. And so, but there were a few that I was surprised weren't there. One or two who weren't there, I was not surprised at all.
I know one of them.
Yes, I know you know.
And I'm going to say it because they didn't show up at all on any category as winner or one to watch. As big a company as SAP is, completely shut out. That's pretty amazing.
Surprised.
But I mean, just think about that statement. As big as they are, and they used to show up.
Wow, on everything. They won to watch. The watch list multiple times.
Yeah, and to see them not even mentioned as a one to watch anymore, that's fascinating.
That's more their problem than anybody else's. So.
Oh, it's absolutely their problem. Yeah. But it's just a company that used to show up on everything when it came to enterprise applications to not show up at all it says something
to a group of analysts that are highly
but they've gotten so diversified that they've got their hands in so many different pies that it's hard to say they excel at any one piece. I mean, a lot of people don't think of them really in the CRM space anymore. You think of them more as like an ERP.
Well,
but look at Oracle. Oracle is kind of the same, but you think of Oracle.
Oracle is Oracle's a different ball game. I mean, there's no point in dwelling on SAP because nobody obviously did. So, right. So,
but I'm glad you said that because it's hard to remember the ones that aren't there.
Yeah. Well, but to me, it was I guess the company I loved seeing the most in terms of their growth over time, as opposed to I mean, I have certain loves of companies like the Zohos out there and the Creatios and so on. But the company I love seeing the most in terms of how they grew is Genesis.
I was just thinking. I was just
Genesis.
thinking. And they really jumped into a lot of the categories that they made the right acquisitions at the right time.
They're smart, man.
And they are going to have their big event this week. I'm getting ready to fly to Vegas, and the CRM Playaz, along with the crunch with Rebecca Wetterman, we are doing a watch party for the opening keynote,
which is Wednesday. What day is that again?
Wednesday noon Eastern. So, and you're all right. The fact that they not only showed up, but they showed up as winners and
a lot,
and not in the traditional thing that you would expect Genesis to show up. They're showing up all over. I think that says a couple of things: the importance of the contact center and the growing from without. So they had a certain foundation, and they were smart to start pulling in other pieces to the puzzle and marrying it with their core, because that's really becoming a big piece of the overall agentic, having all that conversational contact center data, but then marrying it with all these other pieces. Like I think somebody said, the importance of the data is, and the CDP is growing in importance. I think they must have recognized that earlier than a lot of people anticipated, and have been building on top of their core to integrate that in. And we'll see what they're up to this week because I'm really looking forward to their keynote.
Yeah,
So.
their victories are well deserved.
Great.
All right. So unless there's anything else, what we can say is go to destinationcrm.com. With starting tomorrow, and you'll start seeing it all. And then look, anybody who is on the mailing list, look in your mailbox. I always love printed editions.
I do too. I have I have CRM magazines, literally physical ones, back to like 2002 and 3.
Good.
I still do. I'll sell them to you for $1,000 each.
Wow. Are they signed and autographed?
They better be autographed.
All right. So
Mickey Mantle.
On behalf of Bob Fernekees and Len Klie.
Oh,
man, I just feels good knowing that I say your names right now after 20 years.
Rolls off your tongue too.
It really does. But anyway, on behalf of them, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz, and we will see you Wednesday for the Genesis opening keynote watch party. That's going to be fun. All right. See you guys later.
All right. Thanks, guys.